I'm the lecturer of pronunciation. So, does it mean that we don't need to really care about pronunciation, since mentioned pronunciation is one of criteria for assessing speaking based on ground? And what is the standardized based on your statement before, sir? And the second question is, I'm really happy where we have to put the local cultural norm in the teaching of English. But my problems, since you have mentioned before, sir, that there is a local culture, foreign culture, and also academic culture, and we are those who are part of those three items. How to integrate or um, uh, how to applicate our teaching, since we are influenced by these three items. And then the third, the last, how to promote our local wisdom in improving or in getting the better teaching in our teaching process of English. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. The second was yes. Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Viviana Maturi and I'm speaking of the Pendidikan Kampung. My question goes to Mr. Barry. I directly come to the question. My question is what aspect of rhetorical analysis that can be used to analyze genre related to this course? Aspect of rhetorical analysis. Okay, thank you.
Right. The next. No more. From this row. Alright. Professor Aziza. You don't need to mention the name because I have mentioned that.
Okay, thank you very much. My first question to Barbie: what is the difference between discourse style written by Thai and other learners in Southeast Asia? For example, if you may compare with Indonesia learners or Cambodia or other learners. Firstly, what is your idea about global English or international English? Do you think that global English or international English in many various dialect or style uh, can be accommodated in formal teaching of EFL in Indonesia? Because our theme in the seminar is shaping the new trend. Do you think that we allow our students to speak as they like? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. The next one. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the time given to me. I am Frank Gupta from the University of Beyond. I want to direct my comment and question first to my host. I think I agree with you that we have to understand each other. Intercultural understanding is very important, especially in this globalization era. But in terms of our job as English teachers, I think we still have to maintain the quality of our teaching. When we speak English well, when we can approach the native like quality, I think that will be our objective. But it doesn't mean that we will be forcing our students to be like native speakers. But on the other hand, we are not, I think it's not a good idea if we are too lenient about this quality. If from the start they say it's okay to use your local accent in using English, I think our teaching quality will be degrading. That's what I'm afraid of. So, in this globalization era, I think we need to have more understanding for the cultures. We can always get positive points from every culture. So every culture is good in its own context, and therefore we can always learn from other cultures. From my experience, for example, in America for 2 years, I could learn a lot of positive things from there too. For example, that people keep time well. They are on time. When they are invited at 7, they come before 7. And that's something that we still have difficulties in Indonesia. And when the American come to Indonesia, they say we are a lot of time people. And to me, it's a little shameful. And we don't need to continue that, I guess. If we want to have efficiency, we can learn from the West as well, and from other countries. And even for individualism, to a certain extent, individualism is good because it teaches you to be independent. It's true, for example, it might be contradictory to our culture. In America, for example, children must go out when they graduate from high school. The opposite is true in Indonesia. Sometimes people stay with their parents, even after they get married, even after they get children. So they live in the same house from grandparents, parents, and children. And they're happy, that's true, and nobody can blame that. But I think it's good also for us to teach our people to understand other cultures. Let's say, for example, in Indonesia, many students don't know English culture, so very often they ask silly questions to the native speakers.
And you make it slow.
Okay, so my point is that we might have, it might be debatable that, my point is that it's good to understand each other, but when we learn a language, because language is a part of culture, it's important to inform the students too about the culture of the people using that language. That's my point. So we have to be flexible, we have to be open-minded, we understand each other, and that will be awesome for all of us. And we want to have a question also to Mr. Ticha. You mentioned about discourse analysis and business English. And you are suggesting that the finding in the discourse analysis may be good to be applied in the business English. But as far as I know, business English itself already has norms and rules that are supposed to be followed by people active in business. But the problem is when you do your discourse analysis, some business people might not be following the norms. And probably you might find some violations from the norms already mentioned in the business English rules, for example. That's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, I think we finish this first. If we still have time, then we go on to the next term. Okay, we would like to invite Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for very thought-provoking question. Let me address the first question, which is about what aspect of rhetorical analysis can be applied to business discourse, right? So I think first we need to make a distinction between discourse analysis and rhetorics. I think I haven't looked much into rhetorics, but my understanding from reading some of Dr. Will Connor's work, I think rhetoric is broader. I think for discourse analysis, we look closely at linguistic features. But I think for rhetorical analysis, it can also be applied to describe the pattern of discourse. For example, I think Professor Connor mentioned that for Western people, with the way they write or the way they communicate meanings is linear, so it's straightforward. But for Eastern people, sometimes we go around and around before we reach the point. So that can explain when we describe the pattern when we write business letters, for example, that I showed you earlier. It's like for Western people like American, the letter is straightforward. Go to the point first, while for Thai people, they write the purpose at the end. So that perhaps can help us explain or maybe help us interpret the patterns that we find when we look at the discourse, using discourse analysis, and then use rhetorical analysis to interpret the pattern. For another question, the difference between discourse style of Thai people and maybe people in other ASEAN countries. Is that right? Yes. I'm not aware of studies that compare the discourse style of Thai people and ASEAN people in other ASEAN countries, partly because I'm more focused on English language. So most study, the rules of English language would compare native speaker and non-native speaker. But that might be wrong, but I'm not aware of that, because there might be some study that look at maybe Thai letters versus Malaysian or Chinese letters. Maybe, but I'm not aware of that, so I'm sorry about that. For the question about the last question, that, business, the language used in business, they have some non-business people aware of that, but sometimes business people don't really follow the rules. I would say that from discourse analysis and from genre analysis, we wouldn't view the patterns of the text as a norm, but we would rather view it as a repertoire or possible way of doing things. Okay, so the rules that I show you, for example, in the sales promotion letter, there are 7 rules, and these are possible things you can write in business letters. When we look at actual business letters, sometimes they don't have the 7 rules. Sometimes they start move 2, then 1, then 3, or maybe more 3 as well. I think the key thing is that these 7 rules are just the starting point for people who don't know anything about business English. Maybe some students who haven't been working before. I think perhaps it's a good preparation for them to know what are the possible things they can do. But once they write a lot of business, once they have more experience, then they know which moves they might want to include in the business letter. So it's not a norm, it's a matter of possibility and how you manipulate your language to make business letters successful. Because when you look at business letters, sometimes they have only 2 rules, which is fine, which is perfect, that's fine, no problem. But those who write letters, which is 2 or 3 rules, they have a lot of experience, so they know what works and what can be excluded. So I think that for a start, perhaps we need to tell our students the possibility, but later on they'll have more experience when working in the business, and then they will know what to write, and they know how to manipulate the writing to make it effective.
Right? The one that's Professor Oski.
If our pronunciation is checked by the speakers of English in this room, I'm sure none of us will pass the test. So the test should be adjusted. So I think, do not force yourself to teach your students to be native like. Of course, examples should be modeled. As an English teacher, you should be modeled to your students. Speak. If you can speak like native like, it is highly appreciated. But when your student cannot follow you, as long as it is understandable, that's fine. Like my example, when you teach in CTO, where most of the students are Japanese, you are not going to be able to make them speaking like native like. They will continue using Japanese pronunciation. Buti is written a book. Are you going to not to pass them? You have to pass them. Because when we get theories, pronunciation is acquired when you are child. During childhood period, the first to be acquired is pronunciation. How can we expect our students to be native like in pronunciation if they only learn English 2 hours a week? In the class, most of the time they listen to Japanese, to Bahasa Indonesia, not English. Outside, they continue listening to Japanese. Then in your test, you use native like. Who should be scored lower? The tester should be scored lower, not the testees. So it does not mean that we have to sacrifice our correct grammar, correct pronunciation, but adaptability is needed. My main focus is today on the cultural norms, because we have our personal identity. Indonesia comprises of many ethnicities. Each ethnicity has its own cultural norms. When they communicate in English, others understand that they might bring their cultural norms. So I agree with so what to do in the classroom. What should be done is that English teachers should provide many examples of people communicate throughout the world if possible. But at least in Asian countries, through these examples, our students will be aware, oh, this is the way how Arabic complements. Oh, this is the way how Americans, how Canadians, how Australians communicate. Just like asking questions just now. When we are coming from different cultural background, when Indonesians ask a question, when they have understood that, when Indonesians ask a question, the question itself will be placed toward the end of the session. Or the question itself might be not clearly stated. When we have understood that, then everything will be clear. When an Indonesian asks a question in the class, just wait until a period of time. Just wait, nanti dia will pay attention to that. So, in my opinion, I'm still very sure that language is only used to express our cultural norm and identity. Yeah. English as an international language, whether English as a global language, to me is understood as variations. Variation linguistically, when I said variation linguistically, I don't mean that we don't have to teach grammar to our students, many. We do not need to not to understand the cultures of native speakers. No. Cultures of native speakers can be given through examples. But the more important for us is our local cultural norms. So this is the thing that we have to go through. And the thing that we have to go through is the right paths that we have to follow. Under which the world will be internationally understood. We do not want, of course, the whole world will be one culture, that is English native culture. No, we don't want that. We want every ethnicity still speak English reflecting their cultural norms. Of course, we continue teaching our students using correct grammar to explain it communicatively. Yeah. When we talk about communicative approach, some also argue that grammar is not important. No, only the approach, the techniques. The techniques that how we are going to be dealing with the structure. It should be given in context, and hoping that through providing language use, our students will understand, not linguistic form. So I don't mean to say that our students should not learn native English cultures. Our students will not be taught using correct grammar and pronunciation, but we need to be tolerable, adjustable, and etc. I think I'm not going to deal with one-to-one question, but they were all common there. To end, I'm sure, and I'm continuing to be sure. So local cultural norm should be tailored into our English teaching. But sometimes we do not know what cultural norms, because we never identify our cultural norm itself. Research and studies should be dealing with that in the future. How Indonesian or how Minangkabau people request, making compliment, disagree to each other and etc. We do not have that information yet. Because the culture has been attached to us. We do not realize it. You can imagine what is going to happen in Javanese culture. In Java, people speak using two different languages, Moko and Kromo. While when they force themselves to speak like native speakers, no polite strategies that they can adopt, because English itself cannot provide that. So more challenges in the future, I think. I think that's all.
Okay. Now, I don't think that we can go on with the next term, because it's already 9:45. We started late, actually. That's why it's shut there. I can conclude that the two speakers have already given us the opinions on the language, the English as the foreign language teaching, and both are talking about language use that is in this course analysis, and also the tailoring local cultural norms in the teaching, learning English. Yeah, what I can know here is about the academic culture. Yeah, so when we teach the English language to the students, because we are in academic condition or situation, and then the academic culture should be strengthened actually. Yeah. So local culture, because I'm also from the linguistic state. So we have to merge the two local cultures and also the national. Thank you very much. So we are going to take a rest to have coffee break after this. Yeah. And let's give a pause to the two presenters. Thank you. Then we invite Professor Rizky and Dr. Dharani to have the small token from the committee.